Hello Stings. In this video we are looking at part 6 of the Algebra 1 Fall Semester Review. We will be starting on question number 23. This can actually be done in the calculator, but I'm going to do it by hand for you. It says given f of x equals -7 times the quantity 9 minus x, find f of -1. So basically we are replacing the x with a -1. So x has now become -1. Now it's just a process of simplifying. 9 minus -1 is 10. -7 times 10 is -70. So f of -1 is equal to -70. For problem number 24, we need to solve for x when we know that the value of y is 16. So we simply replace the y with 16. Simplify the right-hand side. First thing we need to do is distribute. These are like terms, so we combine those. Next, we need to get this x by itself, so we're going to subtract 106 from both sides. At this point, we are going to divide by a negative number. Remember that when we divide, sorry, that should be -90. When we divide by a negative number, the inequality sign is going to shift. So this should have been a -90 here. When we subtract 106 from 16, we get -90. Negative divided by negative is positive, and in this case a 15. And over here those cancel out, leaving the x. Now x is on the right hand side, we need it on the left hand side. So all we do is turn everything around. We end up with x is greater than or equal to 15. In problem 25, they want us to write the system of equations for the situation given to us. They tell us that we have a total of 9 books stacked on a shelf. Each book is either 1 or 2 inches thick. The height of the 9 books is 14 inches. They tell us to have x be the number of 1-inch books and y is going to be the number of 2-inch books. So altogether, my 1-inch books plus my 2-inch books should equal 9. So f is not going to work because they have number of books plus number of books equaling inches, and that's not going to work for this case. So G is also not what we want. So here we have two cases of x plus y being 9, so the number of books totals to 9, and the 2-inch books are y, so y is the one that needs to be multiplied by 2. So here we have h. For number 26, we have a system of equations that we need to solve, and we had an error in the printing. We need to change this 114 to 120. So the first thing we're going to need to do is solve each of these equations for y. So we have 15x minus 12y equals -6, and the other one we need to solve for y is 30x plus 9y equals 120. So for this one, we're going to subtract the 15x from both sides. From there, we're going to divide everything by -12. -15 divided by -12 is going to simplify to be the improper fraction 5/4. And -6 divided by -12 is actually the fraction 1/2. So here's our first equation. Our second equation, again, we will subtract the x term from both sides. So we're going to get -30x plus 120. At this point, we will divide everything by 9. And in order to simplify these fractions, I suggest that you use alpha y equals in your calculator. So we have -30 being divided by 9. You can do alpha y equals and put that in there. So if we did that, let me get this on this side. So here we do alpha y equals, choose that first one, we do negative 30 over 9, and we end up with negative 10 thirds. So we're going to get negative 10 thirds times x. Then we take, again, alpha y equals, we're going to do 120 over 9, and we end up with 40 thirds. So now we have our two equations, and at this point we are going to go to y equals, and we're going to do y1 and y2, where this is y1 and this is y2. So we have, again, alpha y equals to get that fraction skeleton, plus, so there's the first one, and this will be y2 here. So negative 10 over 3 times x, and this one is going to be plus 40 over 3. So now that we have both of them entered into the calculator, it's now calculator work. First off, we need their intersections, so we're going to graph them and see if we can see their intersection on the screen. Until it's still going, because this thing is still running around, and there's our intersection. So once that's done, we are going to calculate. So we do second trace to get up here to calculate. We want to calculate the intersection, which is choice 5, and then we're going to enter 3 times, and we find out that x is 2.8 and y is 4. So over here in our problem, they asked us what is the value of x in the solution. Our solution was 2.8 comma 4. So in this case, the x value is 2.8, and that would be the part of the solution that they are asking for. Problem number 27 gives us an equation, and they need us to find the number of road signs. Well, R is what represents the number of road signs, and they told us that the employee painted 40 curbs, and C represents the number of curbs. So all we're going to do is take that 40, replace it into the equation, and then solve for R. So the first thing we need to do to solve for R is to get rid of this division here. So we're going to multiply 40 times 0.75, and 40 times 0.75 is 30. So here we're going to have 30 equals 40 minus 2r. Now we subtract 40 from both sides, and we're going to get negative 10 equals 2r. Then divide both sides by negative 2, and we'll end up with 5 equaling r. So how many road signs did he replace that week? He replaced 5. Our last problem for part 6 is going to be writing an inequality for the given graph. First off, we have a horizontal line. So this is horizontal. What we know about a horizontal line is that its slope is 0, and its equation is always of the form y equals some number. For this case, we have an inequality. So instead of an equal sign, we're going to have an inequality sign. So where does this line cross the y-axis? It crosses it at negative 3. So we have a y is at negative 3. And is y, it's shaded below, so that means y is going to be less. And because this is a dashed line, we do not have an equals, it stays strictly less than. So our inequality for this graph is y is less than negative 3. So this is part 6 of the Algebra Final Exam Review. And your exam will either be Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday next week.